Hi, my name's Ashlyn Conlon, and I represent the UK Advertising Export Group, or UKAEG for short, as you might hear us refer to during this presentation. We are backed by the Advertising Association, the IPA, the APA, the DMA, London and Partners, and the Creative Industries Council. And through our unique partnership with DIT, our aim is to support the international growth of UK advertising and marketing services. Over the years, global clients have been drawn to the UK for many reasons, including the fact that the UK is the most awarded advertising hub per capita. Their talent aspires to work in the UK, bringing with them an excellent knowledge of international markets and making the UK a place to do business. We are also the world's most advanced digital advertising economy, third only in size to the US and China. And the UK is home to some of the world's leading storytellers, with a unique culture of delivering effectiveness through creativity. According to the UK AEG Export Report, which was released in March in 2020, £3.7 billion worth of advertising services were exported to EU nations in 2018. This accounted for 53% of overall UK advertising exports around advertising. These figures are testament to the resilience and underlying strength of advertising in the UK, particularly considering they cover the second full year following the Brexit referendum of July 2016. Despite the uncertainty during this time around the country's departure from the EU, we saw robust growth in new business wins across Europe. UK advertising, with its brilliant combination of strategic, creative, technological, and production capabilities, will play a crucial role in the recovery for the economy and for brands all around the world. Our expert panelists will discuss their experiences of working in Europe, the challenges and opportunities, including Brexit and COVID-19, and we'll be taking a look at how markets are recovering. So I'd like to introduce you to the panel. And first up, we have David.
Thanks, Aisling. Hi, I'm David Ball. I'm the CEO and founder of Brandfuel. We are a creative communications agency based in London with offices in San Francisco, Dublin, Switzerland, and Asia. We specialise in conferences, events, exhibitions, and now online events and filming and production of those events. We have been working with and continue to work with some of the largest brands in the world. So Google, Android, Aramco, as well as tech companies like Slack, Stripe, and Snapchat. We also work with a lot of financial services organisations and banks. So huge businesses like BlackRock, Barclays, Standard Chartered, and so on. Europe is a massively important market for us. In the last year, more than half of our revenue came from Europe. So it's key for us, and it's been growing at a huge pace over the last 3 years as well.
Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Potts-Taylor. I'm co-owner and chief strategy officer at Cream, and we're a strategic marketing agency really designed to help brands and businesses better understand their audiences and then communicate with those audiences in a way that's far more effective than they may have historically. And the sorts of businesses we work with, our heritage is very much in the world of premium and luxury. So a lot of our clients still occupy that space. So we work with the European Art Fair, we work with David Morris, a Bond Street jeweller, both of whom operate across Europe and other markets outside of there as well. But we also work with increasingly businesses outside of the luxury sector. So we recently started working with Tinder and their UK media account, but also out of Unilever, some of their hair care brands in the Tigi bedhead copyright space and running their European media strategy.
Thank you. And Jamie?
Yes, hello, I'm Jamie Walker. I'm an executive at Pulse Films, which is an independent modern day studio encompassing the development, financing and distribution of cross-platform content for audiences worldwide. We have offices in Italy, Germany, UK, and in the US. And we're looking to opportunities all the time to develop across Europe and Asia in particular. And we see ourselves as storytellers dedicated to creating moments of culture through innovative storytelling. And we offer that across several different platforms, including television, scripted and non-scripted, feature film, branded entertainment, music, video, and commercials, which is the division that I work in specifically.
Thank you. So you've all mentioned all the brands that you're working with and some of the different territories you're in as well. And I guess I want to go back to the beginning because obviously you're all UK-based companies originally. So how did it all start for you? Was this something that happened organically, through word of mouth? Was it a planned strategy to go to Europe? So, how did the story begin of going into an international business? David, perhaps you'd like to go first.
Thanks, Aisling. I think for us, we started with Google as a client, and they were 5 years into their own growth, and Europe was a massive market for them, which hadn't really flourished. So they took us because they didn't have any agencies in Europe at the time, any local agencies. So we had this incredible opportunity basically to do all of their event and in some cases in the early days, direct marketing across Europe. So we actually in the beginning did more work in Europe than we did kind of in the middle of our phase. And now we've gone back because the volume of work has grown massively. I think in the last 3 years, 102% growth in European work for us. More than half of our total revenue comes from Europe. So it was a lovely start. We worked absolutely everywhere in every country, helping Google to establish themselves in their offices.
Thank you. Charlotte, how did it start for Cream?
Well, Cream was founded in 2003 specifically as a media agency to service the needs of luxury brands. And the luxury market, as pretty much everyone will know, is very European centric. So really from the first client we had, the first brief we had, it was required that we knew about the European market. And more than that, as we grew and evolved and gained more clients, actually an understanding of the global affluent audience, their behaviors, their preferences, how they interacted with media, how they interacted with brands became a really essential part of our business. And as we've evolved and now have two sides of the business, Cream Consulting, which is really around the strategic formulation of brands, marketing strategy, as well as really understanding marketing analysis and performance through econometric modeling. On the communication side of our business, Europe has always been really important. And London, particularly, I guess, even just from a geographic standpoint, has been really useful because of its location, almost equidistant really, between North America and Europe, has meant that we've been well positioned to service those clients in different territories.
So Jamie, from a Pulse Films point of view, how did it start for you guys to going into Europe? Was it word of mouth, or was it like Cream? Was it a planned part of your strategy?
I mean, I think for the past 5 years, we've really started to see our position in Europe, just with the global profile of the company's name, as well as the talent that is obviously of interest across the globe that we represent. We've started to see good opportunities, great opportunities from some of the best agencies and brands across Europe in particular. And so it was organically, I guess, moved into that position where we thought, well, look, let's look at potentially opening up specific offices within some of these markets. And I think initially we went by looking to find key sort of local partners, people on the ground who had the knowledge, who understood the cultural nuances that were required to develop effective creative campaigns there. So, and looked to sort of partner with them initially. But very quickly realized that the opportunity was more than that for us, and we were in a good position and place to set up our own offices, and now have offices in Germany, Italy, Spain, and we have a very, very strong partner in France as well that we're working a lot with. And so we've developed over the past few years, in particular, major campaigns for brands, big brands, European brands, international brands such as Mercedes, Otto, Monoprix, Audi. And yeah, we've just seen a sort of an increase in the success of that for us. So I guess, yeah, it was more organic than anything. And I think now with the current, forecast of Brexit happening and well and truly happening, it's, we find ourselves in being able to sort of approach some of those challenges in an easier way, having local people on the ground for us in these countries to help us around these challenges that Brexit might put up.
Jamie, you win. You were the first person to mention the B word. But I find that really interesting. That I guess from as a Pulse Films, you've also gone and you've opened up offices in other markets that you're working in, and for Charlotte and David. How has it worked for you guys as a company? Are you working, is everything solely happening out of your office here in the UK? And you're working with talent on the ground, maybe in a freelancing way, or have you also gone and opened up offices across Europe? Charlotte, perhaps you first.
So we still have just the one office in London, and exactly as you say, Aisling, most of what we do at an executional level is a mix of freelance talent on the ground and what we can run out of the UK. So from a media perspective, on the communication side of our business, pretty much everything we can run effectively out of London. We're a small team, just about 15 people, but we're very fortunate in that we have native speakers in German, French, Italian, and Spanish as well. So we actually are pretty well serviced in terms of being able to access those markets with a level of knowledge that other agencies may not be able to from London. But I guess on the other side of our business, where we get more into brand strategy, it's perhaps even more pertinent that we do have that very nuanced contextual understanding of the individual markets. And I think really our experience there has been that collaboration is the most important thing. So understanding where our weaknesses lie, really being able to identify them quickly, and then work with best-in-class talent in those local markets, which has been something that's easier, to be honest, than we thought it might be. Even on the production side, we work with a business called The Smalls that help us get in touch with really brilliant people, whether it's from art direction through to producers, filmmakers, or even just kind of talent acquisition. It's a really fantastic way to have the agility to be able to service those clients in Europe, but equally as their briefs expand into new markets as well.
And David, has it happened for Brand Fuel? Have you opened up offices, or you're working everything out of UK?
Thanks, Aisling. It's kind of strange. It's not strange. Most of our work is centred out of London, but technically, a very long time ago, we opened an office in Switzerland because, from a VAT management point of view, it was absolutely the right thing to do because we were doing a lot of work there. And strategically, we've opened an office in Dublin last year to protect ourselves against Brexit. But we have a very good strategy in that we've been building over the last couple of years really strong partnerships with production companies and other agencies throughout Europe as a piece of sort of forward planning.
So it's part of your strategy, is your growth strategy is to go, when you go into those markets, you're opening up offices.
Yeah. Having that local knowledge and local people on the ground, and thereby being able to tap into the local talent that is there to, are going to understand, the cultural understanding and the nuances, for working with local brands is obviously very important. But, we are also pitching on some of the more international brands, larger scale projects. We're pitching our UK roster on those. And I think it's very important to manage that from a UK perspective as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. We will go back to Brexit in a bit, but there's I think Charlotte mentioned it. And I guess if I was to wear my sort of maybe an agency hat, and I'm thinking that exporting as a new business strategy is something that I want to start, especially as the market's changing now. Probably one of the questions that I wanted to pose to you all is around hiring talent. So whether it's working with freelancers or it is hiring talent into your offices, does this throw up challenges or is it straightforward? Charlotte, as you were talking about freelancers, perhaps you'd like to take this one.
So, in terms of hiring talent, because we do just have the one office in the UK, that's where all our kind of employed Cream staff sit in London. So the way that we have operated internationally is through freelance talent. And as we've discussed across some of the other questions in terms of partnerships with other agencies as well, I think there's a real need as you expand internationally to be open-minded, to act in your group of peers rather than kind of going out every man for himself, because I think that's kind of a quick route to failure. Identifying where you have complementary skill sets with other agencies, or even where you have exactly the same skill sets with other agencies. There's a lot that can be learned in terms of sharing experiences and tapping into each other's networks in different territories.
Thank you. And David and Jamie, I guess it might be slightly different for you because you have bricks and mortar in the different territories that you're in. Is there any challenges that come with hiring talent in the different markets? Especially looking at Europe.
Thanks, Ashling. I think in the events industry, particularly, we're really lucky because there is a phenomenal network of freelancers, and I think we've been in the business long enough that we have a good reputation, and therefore we can go to a market and we can use our own network to find the kind of experience, skills, talent that we need. And that is very much the modus operandi for us on particular jobs around Europe. But we take that a kind of step further with jobs at particular scale. So we have a very strong partnership with a really small bunch of freelancers who are now a small company in Italy. And in partnership with them, very close partnership, we deliver a massive job in Sicily every year. And it's just about finding the right people, creating the right trust and the right environment, and cracking on.
Yeah, I think using our own network to find ourselves the key people that we know will represent us in the best way in these local markets across Europe is key. And there is such a huge, diverse pool of people to tap into. And I think we're very fortunate position to have a company profile that allows us to do this and really find the very best people. And then, once we have those, I think it's been, to a certain extent, can be surrounded by a bit of trial and error. Some companies you're going to try and set up with that don't work, or some do. But once you've found the right people to work with, you're in a very good place. And I think in terms of ourselves as a production company, we're looking for local talent, as in local directing talent, that can help us work on many of the local brands. That's very helpful as well. But to have those key EPs within our offices over there, or from our partners over there, to help us find those has been very helpful. And then on the larger, as I mentioned before, on the larger international brands that we're working with across Europe, we will often use our roster of UK directors to pitch on that.
Thank you. So you've all mentioned, we know whether we need to have an office or we can work from the UK. We know what the challenges and are going to be around hiring talent. The next question that I have for you all is around new business, because you've all stated that you've worked with household brands. And what do you believe are the key factors for winning new business when you're going to an international territory such as Europe? Jamie, perhaps you'd like to take this one first.
I think
I imagine that time zone is so handy because, travel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think winning international awards across all of our divisions has been very helpful, and keeps the relevant industries across Europe, in touch with what we're doing and who we are. I think our widespread global profile that we have and the roster of directing talent keeps us front of mind for all the agencies and brands across Europe. So we're in a fortunate place in that way. And I think the local offices that we now have there are key in keeping that presence alive. And we continue to win, the international awards across all the divisions. I think we're in a slightly a unique position, company, in that it spreads across format in film, TV, branded entertainment, music, and commercials. So there's a widespread interest there, and I think that's been very helpful for us.
Thank you. David, what do you see as the key factors when it comes to new business wins?
I think Jamie's absolutely right. Having a chest full of awards is a really good way of people getting trust and notice in your skill sets. I think the other thing is that we undoubtedly have one of the strongest pools of talent in this country, anywhere in the world. That in itself gives you an advantage for European work. And I think it's also important that as an agency, you make sure that you are always massively current in your thinking and future-proofing yourself. So we as a business are using kind of sustainability and diversity as our two pillars to drive us forward in this time of massive uncertainty. And being able to set yourself apart when you can show huge knowledge and understanding and experience of how to be sustainable is incredibly important. we reflect it from the work we're doing with our clients. So, we've just done a job with BlackRock. They're the biggest investor in the world. The entire theme of their summit was sustainability and sustainable investing. So we take note of that, and we've been doing that for a while. So it's setting yourself apart from the competition, winning lots of awards, and making sure your reputation is one of future thinking and future proofing.
Charlotte, would you agree that awards is a key factor?
Perhaps. I mean, we aren't as illustriously awarded with lots of different awards, but I really agree with what David said around, I guess, a point of distinctiveness in the market. So in the UK, Cream is well known for premium and luxury, but we have so many different services. So for some of our clients, they would call us their creative agency. Other clients would call us their media agency, their strategic agency, their marketing analysts. And what we found internationally is that it really benefits us to actually just be very single-minded and very, very focused. So saying that we are here to help you better understand affluent audiences if you are a premium and luxury brand. And sometimes that turns directly into a media conversation, and we purposefully keep it narrow to show our depth of knowledge and depth of experience in that. Whereas perhaps in our home market in the UK, we'd let things spiral a little bit and maybe be a bit broader in the way that we talk about ourselves. But I think focus and clarity, and then exactly as David said, being able to then back that up with your depth of experience, your depth of knowledge, but also your ability to forecast what might happen in the future. I think that's what served us well historically, just having that very direct and single-minded approach to what you want to achieve for these types of brands.
So my next question then is, we've talked about Brexit, or it's been noted, should I say, that, and we know that it's coming down the line. Our stats from the export report show that it didn't actually have much of an effect on UK advertising. We were still viewed as the global hub, and brands still wanted to work with us. And I guess it's an individual question, but why do you believe that the UK is viewed as the global hub of advertising? David?
Well, fundamentally, it's all about talent. I think we prove time and time again as a country that we have some of the most creative people on the planet. It's slightly subjective, but if you look at the really big tentpole events around the world, and I'm talking really from an event perspective, which is my experience, the majority of those tentpole events, the core creative is British. It is British talent, and that's phenomenal. If you look at who runs Olympic ceremonies around the world, it's all British talent. That's fundamentally why we stand head and shoulders above.
And Charlotte?
So from a Cream perspective, so much of what we do hangs around audience centricity and an ability to really understand a brand's consumer in a way that goes beyond just demographic and starts to help them focus so much more in their marketing efforts. And I think, Aisling, you mentioned in your introduction that actually something that we do well in the UK, I think, is the blend of art and science. And we have such a good reputation for science broadly, but also in the world of advertising, our ability to understand data, interpret it in a way that's meaningful, and also just collect data in an organized fashion, but then also blend that with our deep heritage in art, whether that's from art that the normal person would see in their lives, from fine art, theatre, through to really just the world of advertising. And I think those two elements together, when they ring harmoniously, turn something that could be quite flat and dry, just reading stats about your audience group, into something that becomes the trigger for creative ideation or becomes a brilliant media idea that you can execute in Europe or globally. So I think that sort of blend of art and science is something that the UK is really fantastic at.
Okay. Jamie, why do you think the UK is viewed as the global hub of advertising?
I think going back to David's point, and I'm sure you've heard this many times before in the panels, I think it's really to do with, the UK offers world-leading businesses and talent, really, a hugely diverse talent pool, a globally recognized pool of leaders who've all landed and live here and work within our creative industries here, and offering their expertise. And I think that's one of probably the first major key points. Next, I'd say it's to do with our expertise in global branding. I think we have some of the best ad agencies in the world in London, and who are all working with and creating strategies and campaigns for all the major brands of the world, including like HSBCs and Samsungs, Audis, Virgins. We do it all here. And I think there's a real importance to establish what is effective in terms of creativity here. And I think the UK have that really sewn up in that, with the rigorous IPA Effectiveness Awards, which really keeps us in check on that level. And I think there's a tradition in training to encourage knowledge about effectiveness and how to put that into practice. I think that we really focus on that here in the UK from the early stages. I'm also aware of the more recent Cannes Lions. So again, back to awards. I think the Cannes Lions, UK won more Cannes Lions per capita than any other country. In the last two times in a row, we've won that. So that stands us in a very good place. And I think Europe is very open and interested in that, in the awards side. I think technology and innovation. I think we're the leaders of digital communication in Europe. I'd say we're at the forefront of technology and innovation. We're at the center of mobile app development, and are very are key players within VR and AI. I think as well, with spokespeople across the board on that front, which I think is also very attractive. And then our working practices as well. So, obviously our time zone is highly convenient for global organizations wanting to coordinate efforts across teams. But we have the hub here is very helpful for them, I think. And also, the overall UK business practice is very well tuned, and good legal framework and a flexible labour market in place, which encourages creativity and innovation. So yeah, I think we're in a very good position to call ourselves the hub.
Normally, at this point, I might ask a question which would just be as simple as, COVID-19. What are the opportunities and challenges? But with Europe as a territory or a global marketing strategy for a business, there's a second challenge that throws itself up here. So we have both, Brexit and we have COVID-19, all sort of, all throwing different challenges up for each of you. And what I'd like to do is to take a moment to do a little bit of crystal ball gazing. What I'd like to do is ask you the question is, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges that are going to arise as you continue to work in the European market? David.
Thanks, Ashley. Look, we see Brexit as being a hugely challenging situation for us as an event business. But we've been massively proactive, and we are supremely optimistic about being able to continue to work across Europe and hopefully to continue to grow our business. What are the challenges? So physical challenges, last year we sent over 40 articulated lorries across the channel through France and down into Spain. And a lot of other trucks from manufacturing facilities in Germany and Spain as well, just to build our presence for Google and Android at Mobile World Congress. In a no-deal Brexit world, that is going to become very challenging. So we are already looking at building more time into projects, and it brings key factors for us, which are planning and communication, having incredibly clear project timelines, communication, complete transparency, local supply chains to reduce risk for transportation and sustainability. There are benefits, sustainable benefits from transportation being more local. Alternative modes of transport. We've been looking into using freight and train to get stuff down into Italy. Systems, paperwork. Wow. We're lucky because we worked in Switzerland for many, many years. And so we're used to the process of carnets, which is detailing every last facet of whatever object you're temporarily taking into a country and taking back out again. Contingencies. We had a situation this year at WEF where 3 of our trucks were held at the border in Switzerland, even though they had all of the correct paperwork and carnets. And it was just a kind of overactive customs officer who fancied holding up everybody for a few days. So there are challenges, but good preparation, good communication, really good planning, really good systems in place can get around those, and then you win.
I'm keen to know everything got released with the paperwork and the event all went super well, right?
Yes, and actually we weren't the only agency who had trucks stuck there, and we were liaising with both the Swiss government, UK border control as well, and we managed to get everybody moving. But it was a bit shaky.
Okay. Jamie, what do you see as the opportunities or the challenges?
Post-COVID, are you talking, or?
I would say just in the next year or two, because I think with this, it's more than just COVID, isn't it? There's other conversations that are happening that are either going to provide lots of opportunities for us or as David mentioned, there'll be some challenges along the way.
Yeah, I think obviously, the world is obviously, a very different place now, and we all need to become more familiar with new ways of working within it, new ways of communicating for brands, new ways of networking, and promoting our services across Europe and across the world. And I think as time moves on and the more understanding that we have about what is actually achievable within these limitations, we will be able to start communicating in the right ways and deliver for our clients as we need to. I think, being part of something like UK Advertising Export Group is obviously very beneficial. It's to be able to incentives such as virtual trade missions are key, I think, to approach these new markets. And work as a collective, work as a body of people is far more I would say, successful in moving forward than before. So yeah, just new ways of communicating, new ways of networking, and being, it would strike me as being, key to be part of a body of people such as UKAEG, moving into those markets. It's going to be very helpful for us all.
Fantastic answer. Thank you. Charlotte, what do you see as the opportunities or perhaps challenges that are coming down the line for you guys?
I guess specifically thinking about post-COVID or during COVID world, I think what we have as an agency is such a breadth of different types of clients in different sectors that really we've seen them all react or not react in different ways to the changes that lockdown globally has enforced on their consumer base. But I mean, from obvious things like our travel clients are kind of at a little bit of a frozen point in time at the moment. They're not really sure what the future will look like for them. But also the impact of lack of travel is having huge ramifications for our luxury clients who are now once again having to think about the domestic consumer, where so much of the rhetoric over the last few years has been about the international traveller and how can we entice the Chinese spenders. So actually there's a lot of work to be done in terms of strategic reformulation. And what we've seen during the last few months is that whilst a lot of media spend has stopped, and those who have spent have certainly reaped the rewards of being able to have higher share of market and actually quite responsive audiences in pockets as well, what it's been really beneficial for, this kind of enforced pause for many of our clients, is actually a period of reflection where we've been helping them with a lot of marketing mix modeling to understand what's happened historically in their media plans and their marketing initiatives, what has worked, what might prove successful in the future, what will the audiences of highest value look like for them both at home and internationally in the future, and starting to use that to reflect on what parts of their brands will be most relevant in kind of the new world order that's approaching. So I think it's been fantastic as a time for reflection, but certainly a fraught time with lots of uncertainty for so many of our clients.
Thank you. if there are any brand owners or CMOs who are watching this presentation, and I guess the next thing they want to do is start working with Team UK, aside from contacting you all today, what is the one bit of advice you would offer somebody, to work with Team UK? Charlotte.
I think I've talked about this an awful lot, but I think having a focus on your brand, but importantly, who your audience is and what you think the future should look like for the relationship between those two things is a fantastic starting point, because from that you can start to identify the types of weaknesses or strengths in your current strategy and bring in a brilliant roster of agencies around you to support that. And I think so often we go in to see CMOs who maybe have approached us for a media brief, and we ask perhaps one too many questions and then find out that actually the problem isn't as executional as a new media plan. It actually turns out that the brand strategy was done a long time ago and maybe doesn't stand up to modern standards of sustainability or even just modern standards of tastes and what people are looking for in their daily lives anymore. So I think it's kind of, my advice would be a bit of inward reflection and scrutiny of what exists about your brand and your strategy at the moment, and then kind of really focusing down on the things that will make the biggest difference rather than potentially the things that put a plaster over a problem that's happening right now.
Fantastic. David, what one piece of advice would you give a brand owner?
I think some of what Charlotte said is very similar to what I would think. But for us right now, the key thing is not to try and transfer their marketing modus operandi into an online world. So the really big thing we're working hard at with new clients and with existing clients is to restart those conversations about why they were behaving, about why they were marketing using particular tools in a particular way, and to take a step back. And in that step back, look at what was the reason behind it, what was the business challenge that they were trying to solve, and then present that as the brief rather than, we used to do it this way, we want to do it this way, but here. What we really want people to do is to say, this is the business challenge we were trying to solve for, whether that's building our pipeline, whether that's brand and reputation, whether that's pushing out our thought leadership. And let's let the agency solve for that in the current climate with a future-minded eyesight as well.
Brilliant. Jamie?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think it's key. Firstly, I'd like to say I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I just think it's key for clients to understand that they need to be open and they need to trust their agencies and listen to the advice of, being open to consider opening up the breadth of work that is available to them, and to really look at new ways of communicating differently at these times, and just seeing what is feasible during these times, because there is hope that we are still able to communicate for our brands and for our clients in ways that are going to be very effective. It's just working out the right things for each particular client. I think there's a lot of hope. It's just it will be a new way of working. We as a company, we're fortunate to be working across platforms, and we always have had that in our DNA. That's how we started. We work across TV, film, music, and commercials. We work in short form, long form, whatever it is. We're very open to that. As with storytelling, obviously, always at the heart of it all. But I think it's important for everyone to be open and understand that they need to shift angle, change ways, and look at new opportunities and see what's out there, and be open to working in new ways.
I think the change is the key thing, because we're used to going through periods of change. We're not used to going through periods of constant change. Yeah, what we do this week, we will probably have to do differently in 2 weeks' time. And we'll probably have to be doing something completely different in 2 months' time. And I think that's the thing, is that nothing is stable right now. It is like standing in a river where all the pebbles you're standing on are constantly moving under your feet. And the clients we work with have to understand that. They have to be open, as you say, Jamie, open and flexible to allow us to take whatever the correct modus operandi is at this time, use it, but be prepared to change going down the line. 100%.
I totally agree. I think the period of constant being in flux is inevitable, but I think actually amongst that, it's even more important ever than before to have at least one or two points of consistency, which might be your brand DNA, it might be your overriding kind of values in the world, it might just be this is the audience that we're trying to influence, and that stays the same. The audience is still going to be there, just their behaviors will change. So I think finding those points of consistency that you can kind of hold on to during all these vast changes is super important.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then sort of on the flip side, for any agencies or production companies who are maybe in the audience and perhaps they're thinking that global might be their new business strategy. And we know that the government is about to go into overdrive with its plans to boost exports around the creative industries, which includes us. What one piece of advice would you give to any companies who are thinking, right, going global, that's the move we're going to make? Jamie?
It goes back to an earlier point, I think, Aisling, with, right now, it's more important than ever before to stand together and work closely with one another. We're far more effective going into these markets as a group, I think. And being part of something like UKAEG is key to that. The solidarity, the widespread knowledge and expertise of all the people and all members of the group is going to be really important. And I think to have that knowledge and be able to move into these new markets is going to be key for all of us and for them.
Charlotte?
I totally agree with what Jamie said. I think we're all stronger as a group, just at practical reasons of raising the profile of the UK will help all the composite agencies, obviously. I also think what we've had some success with is actually looking for new business, perhaps in unexpected places. So we have an informal partnership with a law firm and a similar one with a property developer and landowner. And actually, quite often, if a business is looking to move into the UK or looking to export from the UK, they'll be talking to those sorts of businesses. So it's not the usual place that you'd expect to get referrals from, possibly, but it tends to be thinking outside the box a little bit. And again, as I mentioned earlier, kind of focusing on really what is the skill of your agency that you're looking to export, can mean that you can identify those opportunities potentially in places that you wouldn't expect.
Thank you. David?
Well, I echo both Jamie and Charlotte's comments, but I think just to ram them home a little bit harder, I've been really, really excited by the other businesses I've met within the UKAEG already, and it's only a fledgling organisation, and we're already looking at partnerships with some really exciting businesses within the group who can add huge value. Well, actually, we can add mutually huge value to each other in our offering externally and to clients in Europe. It's really exciting.
I'd just like to say thank you to our expert panel for joining us today. If you have any questions that you'd like to follow up with them, you can find them all on LinkedIn. But for me, the biggest takeaway, and I mentioned this at the start when we were opening up the session, but it's very clear to me that UK advertising, with its brilliant combination of strategic, creative, technological and production capabilities, we are going to play a crucial role in both the recovery for the economy and for brands all around the world.